Welcome back, everyone, to the Frum Health Club podcast. I'm your host, Mendel Krashunsky. Here at the Frum Health Club, we believe that health isn't separate from our Yiddishkeit, it's all part of it. When we strengthen our health, we become better able to serve Hashem, our families, and our communities with energy and joy. Today, we're joined by Nachman Hoffman, founder of Keter Coaching, a transformational coach helping ambitious Jewish men live with alignment, discipline, and mission. Nachman's journey began in the corporate world, CPA, MBA, 6 years at Ernst Young, until a family member's comment about him looking overweight led him to rebuild his life from the outside in. What started as a personal health journey became a full-scale transformation grounded in Torah, mindset, and meaning. Nachman combines real-world business experience, health training, and Torah wisdom to help others live with energy, focus, and spiritual direction. His Elevate blueprint, including the 5 Up system and 4 Crowns framework, helps men reconnect to who they truly are, body, mind, and neshama. Nachman, welcome to the Frum Health Club podcast.
Thanks for having me, Mendel. Appreciate it.
Can you share with us your personal journey? What was happening, in your life before this comment about you being overweight and you kind of realizing that things got to change?
Yeah, so I guess I was living your typical secular lifestyle. I was, grew up public school. I didn't really have any Jewish education besides I was bar mitzvahed, and that was like the end of my Jewish education. With a lot of people in the U.S. That's kind of where it ends. And so your traditional secular guy just going through the process, college, trying to figure out what I want to do in life. I was always ambitious, and I knew I wanted to start a business. I just didn't know what I wanted to start. So I went into accounting and business, and that's how I started that process. And it was, like I said, just your typical secular lifestyle. I just wanted to be successful. I did, based on what America calls successful, and what it would mean to be successful there. A lot of money and cars, and all the things I think that were pushed on me, I guess, as a child and growing up. And but yeah, I was very blessed. I had a great lifestyle. I had great parents. I had a nice family. I had a really close with my friends and family, and so nothing was really that crazy. It was just your typical lifestyle. And I got a job at Ernst and Young (EY) out of college, and so I was basically set up for a successful career, because starting at the Big Four is like every accounting and business professional's like dream. And so I had an internship with them, and then I got the job before I even started my senior year of college. So I was very happy, and basically set my senior year, and I could have a lot of fun, and that was basically before. I mean, I was saying get to a lot of things, but that was like it's just a traditional way of going through life.
Yeah, yeah, and so you also you mentioned to me that you were gaining weight, right? So when did you? I mean, also
Yeah,
with that being said,
yeah,
you
so
you
so,
were
the other
you
thing
were
was growing up, I was always loved playing sports. So I always played
uh-huh.
sports, but I was always, I would say, more of the lazy positions, not because I feel like I had some allergies, and I believe, some things that I had from a young childhood, to where I couldn't breathe so well. And so my stamina for running was never good. I was always not a great runner. So for all the positions I played, I always played more of the lazy position. So like soccer, I would play attack. Lacrosse, I'd play defense. Hockey, I played defense. I always played a lot of the positions that were a lot lazier. So I always loved sports, and I started to work out in high school, but it was all vanity, and that's all it was. It was just vanity metrics and looking good and having a six pack so I can show everyone. And then I went to college, and then just I still worked out some at college, but not so much. I ate a lot more than I worked out, and so that's when I came out of school, eating a lot more junk, working out a lot less, and I never really. I would say I don't think I really loved or enjoyed working out, or that I knew I enjoyed working out. It was just more of I did it because of the vanity stuff and for sports, and that was really it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you were obviously, succeeding at a pretty high level professionally. When did you start to realize that, something deeper was missing?
Yeah. So two things happened. One, in college, I had this, I think I was like 21, 20 or 21. I had this dream of death, but not in like a grotesque way. It was just more of like the plug was being pulled. And for some reason, that really like shook me up to want to look and search more for what I was here to do. So that kind of led me on my journey of like just searching for whatever. I had no clue what I was searching for. Um, but on the health side, it wasn't until a family member made a comment. I was at this family event after college, probably 3 months, 4 months after college, and a family member said, "Oh, by the way, your face filled out," basically saying I gained weight and was not looking so great. And so my sister was there. She like made fun of me. She's like, "Ah, yeah, like, guess what, buddy? You're gaining the pounds, looking like a typical college student." And so that just set me off. I was like, all right, grandpa, I'm going to show you. And basically 30 days later, I lost 30 pounds and I went on
Wow.
like this rampage. Yeah. I went super hard. I went on I think it was called the abs diet. It was from Men's Health. It was like, a magazine that I used to read a long time ago. Um, so I went on this thing called the abs diet, and literally 30 days later, I lost 30 pounds. I started feeling good, and I was like, wow, this is something special. And this is where I just started to like go all in on it. And that's kind of how it started. And then after that, I was addicted. I understood like the feeling that I got from it. I understood, I needed to have energy to be successful at any level. And so that was the start.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. So I remember you sharing a story with me about you coaching a team in Eretz here in Israel to get healthier, and how that like impacted the
So
whole business. You can share
So it
that.
actually so that story happened in America. This was
Oh,
still very early in my journey, and a lot of my team members saw the transformation that happened to me with
mhm.
working out. And so, for those that don't know, in accounting, there's a thing called busy season, and busy season is basically after year end, and a company needs to file their financial statements. And so the accountants have to come in, and the auditors, and everyone comes in, and they have to review their books, and it's very, very stressful, very long hours of work, and always eating unhealthy food because as a team, we would eat basically breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. And we also were traveling. So, like my team, we traveled. We were in St. Louis, and it's a very unhealthy city, by the way, a lot of unhealthy food. This is also before I'm kosher, so I had no idea about any of that stuff. And so um, a couple team members were like, "Hey, I really don't want to gain weight during busy season. Can you help?" And so I talked to the whole team. I was like, "Guys, all right, let's just do something together. I'll get all the snacks for the team. I'll do all the ordering with you guys. I'll help you with it all, and let's see how we do." And so after busy season, um, no one gained weight, and the people that wanted to lose weight lost weight. So everyone was like, it worked out really well. And then what happened was this story made it to like corporate, and there's about 100,000 employees at E&Y. I mean, it's a huge, huge company. And so it made it to this newsletter, and they interviewed one of the people that lost weight and started, was doing really well at this point. And actually, she happens to be a partner now, which is cool, and she's a good friend. But um, they interviewed her, and I had no clue she said this, and she was like, "I've never felt so good about myself after,
Wow.
working out." And I was like blown away because I had no idea. She didn't tell me. I knew she felt better and she looked better and she had more energy, but she never told me the effect it had on her. And so when I read that, I was like blown away. And so when I knew I wanted to start a business, I was like, maybe this is what I should do. And so that's what led me on my journey to start learning more about the health. I got, I was certified by ACE training, personal trainer certification via ACE. I got my
Mm,
lifestyle weight management certification, TRX certification. I did all these things. So I was like, if I'm gonna start a business, I better know what I'm talking about, at least have the certifications. And so, even
yeah.
though whatever, there's a lot of things about that which I realized are just not true anymore. But the point was that I wanted to get that experience, and so I did. And then I started personal training, and that's kind of how it all started. But yeah, that's what kind of blew me away, and that's how it all started. And it all started with health because of the energy and just how good I felt and how good you feel about yourself and confidence and all those things.
Yeah. Wow. Well, a lot of times, people think, "Oh, I'm too busy to work out." No, if you're gonna be busy, you have a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Even more so, you need to work
No
out. Like
question.
that.
No, if you're going to be a high performer and you want to accomplish anything, s- meaningful and big in life, you better be in shape. And if you're not, you're just doing yourself an injustice because you're not as good as you can be. There's no question about that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And sometimes you could keep it up for some time, and then Hashem wakes you up through unfortunate things that could happen.
Yeah, no
Um,
question.
yeah, yeah. So now I wanna kind of shift and ask, how did once you already came closer to being observant, how did Torah become kind of your blueprint for building a healthier, more meaningful life?
Yeah. So, I mean, as I started learning in my journey, I wanted to just learn what Torah was all about. And, I had this old school mentality of it's just, camels and donkeys and no technology and all the things that you just don't know and don't understand. There was no Hasidus, there was no learning about more than just what I learned as a bar mitzvah. So when I started Latanya is what totally turned me on to Torah. I started learning the Tanya and I was like, oh my gosh, this is Torah. I was like, I have a lot of work to do, and and so that's really what led to it. And then as I started growing, I realized, okay, everything is there in Torah. Everything, all the secular stuff that I learned, it's it's all already in Torah. And then even above and beyond, like always love personal growth. Like I told you about that story of death. So I was on my like mission to learn everything I can learn and how I can get better and how I could do more, breath work and all these things that, before they were cool. Um, all these things that, I wanted to get better with and learn at. And I realized it's all there in the Torah. And everything that I believed was clear and in the Torah. And there was no, everything that I really connected with. It was clear that the Torah is the blueprint. And if I live my life based on Torah, then I'll be successful. And I've seen so many miracles, and I think Hashem is also very kind to Baal Tshuvas because I talk to a lot of people that are like from. They're like, yeah, you must be a Baal Tshuva. It only happens to Baal Tshuvas to see that hashgacha pratis and all these things, and all the stories. But I just been very blessed, and so once I just started to see the Torah is truth. It's just everything that I did was revolved around it, and I just would completely take on things, and the way I just worked was very simple. Is that when I take something on, I take it on. So it's like if you're going into the pool, like my foot went in, it wasn't coming out. So when I decided I'm gonna wear a kippah, that was it. Like there's no turning back, and that's just how I approach things. I'm not gonna take something on that I can't take on for life, and so that's just how it started. And yeah, it was yeah,
Yeah,
pretty crazy
yeah, that's
transformation. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's amazing. So I wanted to dive into what were some of like the biggest internal shifts that happened that allowed you to sustain the lasting change, because losing 30 pounds in 30 days is pretty intense. Like how
Yeah.
did you sustain that, and like what shifted internally for that to happen?
Yeah. So originally it was all vanity metrics because, growing up in the US, it was all about how I looked. So all I cared about was running without my shirt on so everyone could see my six pack. That was the reason. That was it. I wanted to look good. And, the consequences of that was that I felt good. And so that also brought confidence. It brought a lot of different things. But it was hard for me because, like, as I was learning Tanya, I was like, oh man, now I can't run without my shirt on. And it's like, I was like, but I'm worked so hard. And, you start to
You're
realize that
redefining why you're being
yeah,
healthy.
you start to realize like, "Oh, wait a second. What's the point of that?" Like, it's like you start to question the things that you always thought were important and start to realize they're not important, but they
Mm,
are important in the sense that I can walk around like still today. I'm everywhere I go. I know what I've done with my health. I know I have a six pack. I don't need to show anybody. I don't care. If someone wants to see, I'll send you a picture for, whatever. I don't care. The point is that that kind of confidence that it comes with is basically just a testament to the work that you put in on a daily basis. And if I'm going to accomplish anything big in this world, with Hashem self, I have to be in the best shape possible. And so I take my health as the cornerstone of energy and action and whatever I'm here to do. Without that, nothing works. And so, health is wealth. And there's all these stories of, you spend all this money, you spend all this time trying to make money, and then you spend all your money, to help on your health at the end of your life. It's like, it didn't make sense. And so as I started to
100%.
grow, it like fit into the narrative of, okay, if I'm here to serve, if I'm here to do big things, then I have to be healthy, or else I'm not going to be able to do that. And then also, once you have kids and you get married and all these things, it's like, it's the same thing. Like, what am I showing my kids? Like,
Exactly.
if my kids see me sitting around not doing anything and starting to gain weight and just, doing, like, they're going to see everything. And so,
Yeah.
obviously I did this before kids, but now with kids, it's even a higher level to show them, like, you can be, and that's the whole point. Like, that's also why I do the coaching. I'm like, you can be successful, you can have a family, you can, follow Torah, daven 3 times a day, study all the time, do all these things, and still you need to be healthy and have it can all be true at once. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. 100%. So could you tell us about the 5 up system? How does it help men to elevate their health and their mindset?
yeah. So the 5 up is part of the system, but the 5 up is when I work with clients and people in my coaching program, there's 5 things that people need to do every day. So in the group coaching, there are 5 specific things. And what happens is after 2 months, then you can switch it. So, for example, a big one is drinking 100 ounces of water a day. Most people are dehydrated. Not drinking enough water is a big deal. And so, everyone in the program has to drink 100 ounces of water a day. And it depends. They don't have to do it every day. They don't have to do it every day. I mean, you see my water. I'm always ready to go. They don't have to do it every day, but like one of the things is like with the group coaching, in order to get coaching, if you want to ask a question, you have to have done your 5 up before that coaching session, or else you don't get to ask a question. And so it's just accountability, holding standards. So the 5 up are just 5 things that you need to do every day, in order to really take your life to another level. And as you grow, the 5 up will change. So, for example, part of the 5 up is working out at least 10 minutes, and the 10 minutes have to be a hard 10 minutes. So it can't just be you walk nice and easy for 10 minutes. It has to be a good 10 minutes of something hard, because I'm also not in the business of having to work out for an hour or 2 hours. To me, that unless you're training for something specifically or a professional in a certain industry, there's no need for that. It's overkill. And if you're here to do big things in Torah, that's just a waste of time. In a sense, like there has to be a bigger reason for it. Um, but so the point is that these 5 things are crucial. And then as you graduate and make those 5 things, like for example, for me, working out is not part of my 5 up because it's already a non-negotiable. There's no questions. I'm going to do it. That's just it. But when you need a little bit more push, it's part of then something that you commit to build the habit, to build the routines in your life so that you build upon it. So that's just an example of one of the systems and things that we work with. But it's just something that needs to be done daily. Things that are going to have a big impact based on where you're at and where you're going. Um, and it's just something that can be doable without having to be, an inordinate amount of time.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. You've also mentioned, that without meaning,
Yeah.
change won't last, and that's something that is being discussed in our group about motivation. Some people, they reach out, they say, I just don't have the motivation. And for me, I think I shared this with you. My father, he passed away very young, 38 years old,
Yeah. Well,
and for me, like, just going through that, and then that is like, you don't need any more motivation than not wanting that to happen to your family again. But for a lot of people, Baruch Hashem, majority of people don't go through things like that. But how do you stay motivated and also have meaning in this?
yeah. So that's actually something I found out really early when I started to train people when I had my personal trainer certification. Is these people lose weight, they start feeling better, and then a couple months in, they start going backwards. And I was like,
Yeah.
what's going on? And I read Man's Search for Meaning, and I was like, that's it. These people don't have meaning. Now, it's not that they don't have meaning, they don't see the meaning. So, for
They see the meaning.
example, if anyone thinks about what you went through, then they are going to be able to easily have meaning right away. Like if they thought about that saying, I'm not going to be here for my kids. Like, wow, that in itself is meaning. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the most important processes that I have every one of my clients go through is a process called the My Why. And all it does is it walks you through a process. And I'm happy to share it with your guests. So if you want it, they can, reach out and just email me at nhoffman@onlyup.me. I'll send it to them. But this is the cornerstone of everything. Why are you here? What are you here to do? And even if you don't know exactly what, because we have no clue, we don't know exactly what we're here to do. Like we know the stories of like someone just, having to give tzedakah to this person who asked for it, and that was the whole point of their life. What, like we don't know the reasons, but we have an idea and we have direction, and Hashem sends us these messages all the time of ways to go and what to do. And all we have to do is be open to them. And so when we know who's important, we know what's important, we know what drives us, we know things that motivate us. When you go through this process of the My Why, and you read the My Why every morning and every night. I do the same thing. I don't teach anything that I don't do. I have the My Why as well. I read it every morning and every night before I go to bed. Sometimes in the morning it's later. I might miss a morning, but it's always before I go to bed. I read it every time because it's just a reminder. Because what happens is people get distracted and people forget. And so this
Sure.
is a way to not forget and to know what you're going towards, what your goals are, what you're going after, so that when these things pop up in your life, you can either say, yes, it aligns with what I'm working towards, or no, I don't have time for it. And so it's just a mechanism to keep me focused and grounded at all times. And so when you go through that process of just asking deep questions like, what am I here to do? If I were to, to die tomorrow, would I say that I gave everything I did? Or like, if I think about who's most important to me, like, do I want to let them down or whatever? Like the story, like you have to keep that in front of you at all times. And so for you, you don't need that because you went through a painful time. And the funniest thing is the whole reason why I started the personal training and this process, actually my first business that I sold was in personal growth as well. And the whole point behind this thing is that you shouldn't have to wait for something bad to happen before you take control of your life. And that was the whole point of it all. You shouldn't have to wait for something to happen because most people have to wait for something bad to happen or for someone to pass
Yeah.
away or all these things and awful things to have to happen before they get, kicked in the
Yeah.
butt to really start doing something. And for me, I think it started because of that, like I said, that flash of like that story of death. And that's where it started for me. And I think we shouldn't have to wait for something not good to happen. We should just take control of what we can control and remind ourselves. And that's the whole point of that process. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. So just wanted to mention to our viewers and our listeners that I'll have in the description of on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, how to get that framework, the My Why, so that people that that don't have the motivation for prioritizing the health, this could definitely help them.
Yeah, no, and the funny thing was that there was a guy I was just chatting with
Yeah,
on the Frum
mhm,
WhatsApp group, and
yeah,
he's like, his goal is to get ripped, but there has to be more. You have to ask
yeah,
yourself the big questions and
exactly.
really get into it in order to change and to make it a lasting change. You don't want it to
Yeah,
be you get what happens next. That's what happened to me too. I got ripped and
mhm.
I said, now what? Oh, bigger arms. That's what's gonna that's gonna do it. Oh, bigger legs. Maybe that'll do it. Oh no, the car, that's gonna do it. Oh no, more money. That's gonna do it. It's never gonna work. You have to really know what you're here to do. Because I did all those things. I went through that whole mistake process. I got a nice
Yeah,
car. I thought everything would work out once I got, my G35 coupe. This is a long time ago. But like, all these things that I thought would just give me the happiness and things that I wanted, all
yeah,
external. And like you said, and I think in the intro, for me, it started outside in. So it started with my health. And then I had to go inside to say, like, what am I here to do? Like, what's important to me? Like, what matters to me? And then
yeah.
I started to like build. So yeah, there's no question about it. It all starts with meaning, without meaning, and there's meaning in everything. So it's not so hard to find. Like if you really, have one person you care about, that's all you need.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, what are some key? I want to get into like habits.
Sure.
Maybe you can share about your daily habits. Like, what are some key daily, habits, practices that are like non-negotiable that keep you, grounded and balanced?
Yeah. So I have a pretty long list of things that are
Okay.
non-negotiables, but for me, when I take on something also physical, I have to make sure I'm doing the same spiritual. So
Mhm.
I always make sure that there's a it's integrated, that I'm not going too hard on one side or another. But
Yeah.
for me, working out non-negotiable. I also like get sunlight always as early as I can in my eyes. Is a big thing about circadian rhythm. Every day. Um, my sleep routine, I'm very, very rigorous with it. I have a whole process of winding down. Now, I know there's a lot of jokes about that too. Like, I know Hermosi talks about, like, you don't need all these things, just get into whatever. There's truth to that as well. Like, a lot of these things are distractions, but you have to really
Mhm.
sift through those things to know what's most important. So, like, Tehillim, non-negotiable every day. My chitas, I don't do Rambam yet. Bizrat Hashem one day, but my chitas outside of that, non-negotiable. I do 5 minutes of Zohar every night before I go to bed, non-negotiable. Like I said, reading my why, non-negotiable. Um, I have a gratitude thing at night. I do 5 things that I have gratitude for from the day, non-negotiable. Reviewing my goals daily, my standards every day, non-negotiable. Like, these are just things, like, there's a lot of things that are just not negotiable based on like what I want to achieve in this world. Obviously, with Hashem's help, but creating routines and habits and setting yourself up for success. Like, I do a lot of things like based on my energy. So, like, I know at night my energy is a lot lower, so I'm going to set up all my gym stuff's ready before the night before. My shakes are done before everything is set to go, because in the morning is like my most precious time. When I wake up, at 4 or 4:30, I'm not wasting my time on, like, putting my shake together. Like, it's very focused. My davening, my all the morning stuff done, mikvah, all that. It's like these are like non-negotiables either. It's like it's
Yeah.
just part of the
Yeah.
routine.
Awesome. Awesome.
But I can
Great.
I have a million things, so I can get into whatever you want. But
No, that's wonderful. That's great.
yeah.
That's great. That's already awesome. Um, so what are some common mistakes that you see men make in trying to improve their health or discipline?
Yeah, and like it's like with the person we were talking about before, it's like it's all about, there has to be a bigger purpose, and it has to be something that you want to take on long term. So
Yeah.
health is not, it cannot be a one-time thing. It cannot be like this yo-yo diet. I've tried all the diets, by the way. I know we spoke about this a little bit. I've done them
Yeah.
all. I did carnivore for 60 days. I did Chinese medicine. I've done all the elimination diets. And the only reason to do them is I'm really just trying to figure myself out. And that's the key, is figuring yourself out, figuring your body out, what works and what doesn't work for you. For example, I love caffeine, but I'm also highly sensitive to caffeine. So I don't have caffeine anymore. I have it right now. I'm doing about once a week, and I'm doing like, I think it's a quarter of a caffeine pill, which is like 30 to 50 milligrams, which is nothing for most people. But for me, I'm extremely sensitive to it. And so I know it ruins my sleep. I know it's
Mhm.
hard. I have problems with mold and coffee and all these different things that I've learned from all these different things that I went through and basically trial run on myself. But the key is to get to know you, and to get to know your body, to get to know what works
Yeah.
well, to get to know like how you wake up and how your energy flows. If your energy is good at a certain point, don't spend it like taking the trash out and doing mundane things. Spend your best time on the things that need the most attention mentally. And then the things that need the least amount of attention, you have to really phase in those different aspects of your life. And then when you're down and you need energy, what can you do? Like, so push-ups and, listen to different things, yoga nitra and, meditation or whatever. Like, you got to do what's going to be best for you. So make it an integral part. Like I talked about earlier, like my foot goes in, it stays in. The same thing should be with your health. Like, you should have a process for your health no matter what you're doing. You should have these, like, make these little rules. Like, we know fences in Torah are very important. So make some
Yeah.
fences. So, like, for example, I have all these fences that I've made for my health that are very simple. Like, I don't do any wheat or any gluten, any bread products or cake products during the week at all. It's just I don't do it. Now, Rosh Chodesh, I want to say the longer bracha, so I'll have maybe dates, or maybe I'll have a cracker so I can say the after bracha, but that's it. Like, there's an intention behind it, and I try to make sure that intention is brought into it, and that's it. But like, until Shabbat, I don't do it. Like Shabbat, I will have dessert. I love dessert. I grew up like eating junk all the time, and I love dessert. But obviously, you have to have some boundaries, or else I'm not going to be healthy. And so Shabbat, I allow myself to have some dessert, depending on what's
Same.
going on in my life and depending on where I'm at with certain goals. But you know,
Yeah.
I like dessert, so I have dessert. But I also know there's intention behind it. I also ask Hashem, say, look, I'm doing this for the Tainug aspect of Shabbos. If there was no Tainug aspect of Shabbos, I wouldn't do it. Very simple.
Yeah.
And like so, the key is like when it comes to your health and your routine, make it doable so that I know it's daunting to save for life, but you need to make it a part of your life and make it something that you could do over time. And so, like a lot of times when I work with people, the goal isn't a specific goal. It is like working out 3 times a week, and that's it. Like, don't get into like beating certain times yet. Don't get into, trying to break a record or whatever. Just get in the habit of finding out what you enjoy and doing it. Also, finding things you don't enjoy. That's also a big thing for me. I'm a big believer in doing something every day that makes you uncomfortable. Every day, you should do something you don't like doing. There's a lot of studies about that. I love Andrew Huberman, and he talks about this in this. There's this muscle called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, and it's basically shows that anyone that's extremely successful or extremely fit and top athletes have this because it shows is that when you do things you don't enjoy, it grows in those people, and it's a very big sign of growth. And so I always tell clients, and I do every day. I'm always doing stuff that uncomfortable, like every morning I go to the Mayan, which is freezing cold, and I don't want to do it every morning, and I do it. It's like it's just I
Wow.
have these things where like there's a trash can that's a little closer to my house. I take the one that's a little longer and up the hill because it's uncomfortable, and it's just a reminder every time that like that comfort is there's my favorite saying is there's no growth in the comfort zone, and so this is something I also
Love
tell
that.
people because it's like every day you should be doing stuff uncomfortable, and if you're not, you're living too comfortable and you're not growing. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Love that. I wanted to ask you. So, as you know, we had on the podcast maybe a month ago, Dr. Frischman, and you
yeah,
mentioned to me that you worked with him.
yeah.
I've always wanted to work with him, and hope maybe in the future I will. But could you tell us a little bit about that? How did that go? And
Yeah, so thank God it was good. I learned a lot from him, but it's very intense. And for someone like myself, who is super intense and has no problems with uh routines and being able to do a lot of different things, it's extremely difficult. Chinese
really,
medicine. You're taking a
mm,
lot of pills. It's all timing as well. So I would be doing things where, to give you an example of a day, I would have to take pills a certain time in the morning, take my blood, eat
these pills, you mean like supplements, or what type of pills?
Chinese medicine.
Chinese medicine. Oh, okay, okay.
So I did the whole diet, right? But part of the
Uh-huh.
diet is he also tests you for all these different foods, right?
Sensitivities, right?
Exactly. So he goes through all that. So I went through that whole thing. I did it for like, I think I did it. I'm trying to think how long I did it. I think it was like 4 months. It was pretty long, 5 months. It's
Wow.
intense. Like your food has to be warm. I learned that from him too. That's very important to not eat cold food. I didn't know this was a big issue because when you eat cold food, your body has to warm up to warm up the food, and it's strenuous on the body, especially if you're having
Wow.
meat
Same
or
same
whatever.
thing with water, right?
Yeah,
With cold
exactly.
water.
Water should be neutral temperature or warm. You shouldn't have cold water, whatever. So there's a lot of things to it. It's extremely intense, and so and it's expensive, and it's hardcore. So I would say for anyone, I mean, you'd have to be fully dedicated. And if it was hard for someone like myself, which I said, like all my food had to be warm. It had to be certain things. I could only eat like 20 things. And like
Wow.
and there was it was intense, like blood taken before and after, this and that. Like all day,
Wow.
like through lunch, all your meals, every meal, before meal, after meal, I had to take a pill before the meal, 15 minutes after, 30 minutes after, I take this one, an hour after, I take this one, I had to take this supplement this time. Extremely, extremely difficult. So I would say for someone who's had issues going down like the normal, routines of of normal, I guess, medicine, I would say you should definitely explore naturopathic ways. There's many different ways,
Yeah.
and there's many different ways to do
Yeah.
things. There's so much out there. My thing is, I truly believe. I know it might be a little controversial. I believe like 95% of it's all mental, and I think that's just really what it comes down to. There's obviously people that have major issues and they need to get things fixed and all, but I believe that so much. I literally did everything to the T. I actually, the whole reason I started it was I had eczema on my hands. I had these two spots that were just like really weird flare ups for no reason, and I wanted to
Wow.
solve it naturally because the doctors I went to were like, oh, just put steroids on it, and I was like, that's probably not the best. I want to figure out why. I don't want to just
Yeah.
put the band-aid on it.
Yeah.
So I went to
Yeah.
Dr. Fishman for this. It didn't fix it. But like I said, it was great. I learned so many things. So, and it also made me question a lot of things, and it made me be a lot more introspective with food because I really took food as just fuel and just getting it down, and I didn't care. I just wanted to get it, get it over with, so I can do more. Like I love
Yeah.
fast days because I'm so productive. I don't have to go to the bathroom or eat. It's like amazing, but like I know that's not healthy. It's like not healthy. It's in a sense like you should appreciate the food, and so
Yeah.
he gave me a big appreciation for being more sensitive to food and a lot of different things I've taken on. But it's hard. It's hardcore. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So let's say someone is feeling inspired after this podcast, but is still doesn't know where to start. What's one small, maybe consistent change they can make today that will create like real momentum?
Yeah. So doing any exercise for at least 10 to 15 minutes, doing something that gets your heart rate up, like a light run, air squats, push ups, just get started and find out what you enjoy. Like if you like jump rope, then jump rope, like try to find
Yeah.
things that you also enjoy, but that you could
Sure.
do. Like if you like swimming, go swimming. Swim for a half an hour, you go to your local gym, ones that have the swimming pools, or you can go, find out what you enjoy and make it a small and do small bite sizes so that it's not going to change everything. Like you don't want to take something on that totally transforms everything and throws everything out of whack. Like that's like for me, like everything, like I said, when I take it on fully, but I make sure it's something I can do fully without, throwing everything into chaos. So start slow, make small changes. Like I said, if you eat bread during the week and have lots of grain products and stuff like that, stop. Eat better natural foods, because there's really not much of a need for a lot of the grains and breads that you eat, just
Yeah.
unnecessary. So like cut something easy out, or like cut soda out of your life. Like I don't know what it is about Israelis. They love soda. It's like it makes no sense to me.
So
Like,
true. Yeah.
but like just stop drinking soda. Like it's a big deal. Like all the sugar and all the junk and like
Yeah.
so make small changes. Start with something. Start with exercise. Like that's what I'm saying. Exercise, I believe, was the catalyst to everything for me because I started to feel better. I started to think more clearly. I started to dream differently. Like when I was running, I had all these visions of like different business ideas, and it's just like it just opens up the gateway. And I hate running, like because I told you about like I can't do like not. First of all, I said a bad word. In my family, we don't use the word can't. Um, but you I don't enjoy running long distance, but I did a marathon because I wanted to do it. Same thing with a half marathon. That's how it started. And so I enjoy the short running. And I've also learned a lot of things about like why am I breathing and all that. And so it's good things that I've learned, but do little things, get outside, get sunlight. Sunlight's so important, your circadian
Yeah.
rhythm and getting things started and really just connecting with Hashem's beautiful world that we have and do things small. Start small and start with like 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and just start with that. And that's your goal. And make it competitive. Like it's another fun thing. Like make it competitive with your wife. Like have something. If you
Mm.
don't do it 3 times a week, then you owe her a massage. Or like if she doesn't, like make it fun with your family and make it something to where you could do it together. Cause that's one thing I've learned over the last few years is like even with my goals, all my goals, my wife knows everything I'm working towards. And so like because she's
Accountability. Yeah.
also, yeah, part of my goals that like when I'm like running to bed because like if I have my goal to be in bed by like 9 or 9:30, like she sees like I'm running late and I have like 5 minutes to get in. She's like, I'll do the neck rosters. You run. Like, cause she knows it's part of my goal to get in bed by, if I'm not in bed by 9:30, it didn't count. Like I don't get to hit towards my goal. And if I don't hit my goal, then I'm not able to get something, or I am able to get something. So it's like, make it fun with your spouse, make it fun with your family, make it fun with a friend. You can like that. And then beautiful, like what you're doing with the community, use the community. That's the beautiful thing about a community is if you're not self-motivated, let the community motivate you. Get motivated by other
Yeah.
people, because at the end, you do need to be self-motivated. You have it's crucial in the future, but in the beginning, utilize whatever techniques or tools you need. Put it on Facebook. Make it public. Whatever. The point is, get it out there, make it happen, and if you need help with accountability, get help. It's like there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You just do what you got to do to make it happen, and then you can start to get better and grow. And that's the name of the game.
Awesome. Awesome. Great, Nachman. It's been really a pleasure
Yeah,
speaking with
my pleasure
you.
too.
If you can just remind our viewers, if they want to work with you or speak with you or get the My Why framework, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so Instagram, it's N Hoffman only up, or you could just email me at nhoffmanonlyup.me. And remember, me, and the only reason it's me is because Pirkei Avot, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? And it's very important, obviously, to take care of yourself and to ensure that
Yeah,
you've worked on yourself. So that's the easiest way. And if they just want the my why, just say, you could DM me my why or message me why, whatever. But yeah, happy to help anyone with guidance and setting people up for success. Because like this is the reason I'm starting this, because I wish there was someone who did this before, and I looked a long time for people that were also similar to me or ambitious and looking to grow. And I figured, I didn't find it, so I'm gonna do it. So
yeah, that's awesome. Great, great. Well, it's been a
thank you,
pleasure.
Mendo.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me. I appreciate it.